Thank you very much. The part of the offering I'm sure you'll be looking forward to, particularly the three gentlemen up on the top table. Yeah. Without further ado, can I ask you to please raise the roof and then praise science Mr. Trevor Ottaway, your father of the bride.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
If we're going to have heckles all the way through, this is going to take a very long time, but I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that. On behalf of my wife Jane and myself, and of course the bride and the groom, Rachel and Peter, we would like to extend a very warm welcome. Almost too warm, but this air conditioning is actually quite nice. Anyway. To family, old and new, and to friends, old. I'm not just looking at you, Joe. And new. It's wonderful to see you all here, joining in our celebrations of this wedding day of Rachel and Peter, now Mr. and Mrs. Pimperton. Before I get going, and the bit that Rachel has been looking forward to the most, I would like to give two personal thanks. I'm sure you will hear thanks from the other speakers, and if their speeches are as long as mine, the disco could be quite a short affair. But these are thanks just from me. Firstly, to anyone here present who has purchased a Southeastern train ticket in the last 2 years, thank you. You have either directly or indirectly helped pay for at least part of the meal that you've just eaten. Secondly, when it comes to planning and arranging this wedding, Jane and I have worked at this in partnership. Obviously, anyone that knows us will know this has not been an equal partnership. My 1% compared to Jane's 99%, and I'm being very generous to myself and saying the lists, the files, the invitations, the orders of service, and so much more. I know that Jane hates being the centre of attention, but as she's likely to cry again anyway. I'll give a quick peck on the cheek as if nothing had happened. For all that you have done, thank you. And now for my beautiful Rachel. Almost nothing phases her. A slight concern about falling down the steps on the way to church, or worse, me falling down them and taking her with me, or the possibility of catching her heel in one of those metal grates in the church, almost as if they were deliberately placed there just for that very purpose. How nervous is she looking now? Cast your minds back 1 hour ago. The time is now 6:15. So what were you doing at 5:15? You were probably eating your pudding or eating your main course. Then try 24 hours ago. This time yesterday. What were you doing then? A bit harder. Try 168 hours ago. This time last Saturday, a week ago. What were you doing then? How about 204,627 hours ago? Oh yes, I can tell you exactly what I was doing then. It was the first hour of Rachel's life. And while the midwives were dealing with Jane, I sat in a chair and held Rachel Clara in my arms. Rachel, because we both liked the name, and Clara, after Jane's great aunt, Clara, and my grandmother, Clara Annie Ottaway. I can remember the joy and amazement of seeing and holding my first child, and I fell in love all over again. It gets better. Most newborn babies are very sleepy straight after birth. But not Rachel, although she may have made up for it since. She was the most wide awake baby that the midwife had ever seen. Almost like a meerkat. Straining to see what was going on and take it all in. As I held her then, I was expecting that one day she would get married, and I knew even then that I would include it in my wedding speech. How many other dads start writing their father of the bride speech 23 years before the actual day? I held her in my arms for that first hour, and I've held it in my heart ever since. Moving on. When Rachel was born, she only had the one cousin. He came to visit her with his mum and dad. Soon after, she was brought home from hospital to our first house in William Street. He was as much taken by the carpet on our lounge floor. It was brightly coloured leaves, as he was by his new cousin, and he kept trying to pick up the leaves from the carpet. He struggled to say Rachel, as he was very young, and got about as close as Shushel. From that day, our family nickname for Rachel has been Shushel, often shortened to Shushy. I won't embarrass him any further, but today he read one of the lessons during the wedding service. The exact same reading that his grandfather, my dad, read at our wedding. Rachel as a toddler. Rachel had just the one baby brother at this time, and she had been invited to a fellow toddler's party. And it was a glorious summer's day. She was ready to go, all in her pretty dress, with little white socks and black patent leather shoes. Although I might have been a bit biased, she was quite a pretty picture. As it had been a very hot day, the paddling pool was set up in the garden, and Rachel had enjoyed playing in it before being dressed for the party. Daniel, her young brother, probably needed changing, and it's possible that I was left in charge. Anyway, the next thing I knew, I could see her in her shoes and her party dress, standing in and splashing about in the paddling pool. She ended up going to the party with wet feet and shoes, because they were the only decent shoes that she had at the time. Rachel at 7. Strawberry flavoured toothpaste may be a good thing to use to train toddlers in brushing their teeth. But as a 6'2", large male, presenting at A&E with a small girl aged 7, who was way too embarrassed to tell the doctors and nurses exactly how she had come by her broken wrist, it was pointing in completely the wrong direction and very obviously broken. It was not looking good for me. I was expecting the police or the social services to turn up at any moment. But back to the toothpaste. We used to clean the children's teeth ourselves until they were old enough to do it with supervision, and then later without supervision. We noticed that this toothpaste was disappearing rather rapidly, and suspected that someone may have been eating it in between toothbrushing time. Aha! We thought, let's put it on top of the bathroom cabinet. It'll be out of reach of all of them. Apparently not. Especially if you climb into the sink. It was then actually possible. if you ever do this, please do not slip and fall. It can be very painful and embarrassing several years later.
I know.
Rachel as a teenager. Whatever training we'd given Rachel prior to her teenage years obviously paid off. Nothing much to mention, really.
Don't say anything else.
Rachel followed her mum into guiding as a rainbow, a brownie, a guide, a senior section member, a young leader and an adult leader. All the while enjoying her time camping, being outdoors and being adventurous, as well as helping others and giving back to her local community. She progressed through the Sunday school at the Salvation Army as an infant, playing Mary in at least one nativity play, and as a young soldier she was allowed to play her clarinet in the brass band, before being encouraged to play the euphonium later. Or we may not have been here today, as she met Pete through her brass playing skills. Rachel is a natural at playing any instrument, something that she certainly does not get from either Jane or I. The recorder years were thankfully very short, because she mastered the instrument very quickly and wants to progress on to something else. I can remember taking her along to the Kent Music School at Highstead one afternoon for her to have a look at the various instruments that they could teach her to play. And apart from telling her quite specifically that she could not choose a stringed instrument, she could pick any of her choice. Beginners at stringed instruments was more than we could bear the thought of. She picked the clarinet. And the rest, as they say, is history. Because of her clarinet playing abilities, Rachel gained a music scholarship to Fulham Manor School, and whilst there joined in fully with the various bands and orchestras. This allowed her to go on 4 trips abroad with the music department, playing in and visiting some of the great cities around Europe. Music has had a great influence on her life, and I hope that she continues to enjoy it. From the small baby in my arm to this beautiful young lady who today was on my arm, I have the greatest love and the greatest pride. Daddy loves you and is immensely proud of you. And now is my chance to say just a few words about Pete. How nervous is he looking? The first time that I met Pete was in the centre of Nottingham, where I was visiting Rachel, who, as most of you know, studied at Nottingham Trent University and graduated last summer in product design. Pete had finished work for the day. This is where the two of them met each other, of course, and all 3 of us were going to go out for a meal and a drink together. I was wearing my Superman hoodie. And as Pete shook my hand, he said he had one similar. And wouldn't it have been funny if he had worn his as well? I can remember thinking, I was Rachel's Superman. And he had some way to go yet to prove that he could earn that title. Well, over the last 3 years, he has proved himself more than capable of that role, so feel free to wear it at any time. Although Rachel has now found her prince, remember, Daddy will always be king. Anyway, straight after that, he took us to Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, one of the oldest pubs in England, just in the shadows of Nottingham Castle, which served some decent real ales and had food on the menu like steak and ale pie, and proper sausages with mash and onion gravy. So he had already won me over. I know it's unusual for the father of the bride to mention anything that happened on the stag do, but all that I can say is that we must have been having a really great time for the groom-to-be to tell his father-in-law-to-be to behave, Trevor. Priceless. Serious fault time. Will do. Life is a roller coaster, and you need to support each other in both the ups and the downs. I would like to pass on just 2 bits of advice that were given to us before our wedding day. And I did mention this to the vicar, and he mentioned it in his sermon. It's word for word what I've got written here. First, and very simply, never go to sleep on an argument. Sort it out before you go to sleep. Secondly, we hope that you have really enjoyed your day so far, and will continue to enjoy the rest of it. Try to remember as much as you can about today, as it really will, if it hasn't already, turn into a blur. Talk to each other about what you've seen and done today, and hopefully the memories will last a lifetime. I have already passed on to Pete my top tip for successful and happy married life. Pete, nod your head and say those 2 words.
Yes, dear.
Okay, so now it's time for you all to join in. What you need to do is to slap your thighs in time with me and repeat after me. Everybody can do this. Slap your thighs in time with me and repeat after me.
And repeat after me.
You're good.
You're good.
Pete,
Pete,
Rachel,
Rachel,
Pete and Rachel Pimperton
Pete and Rachel Pimperton
are now joined together
are now joined together
in holy matrimony.
holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Oh, holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
We wish them lots of happiness in their future life together.
We wish them lots of happiness in the future life together.
Pete,
Pete,
Rachel,
Rachel,
Pete and Rachel Pimperton
Pete and Rachel Pimperton
are now joined together
are now joined together
in holy matrimony.
in holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
Holy, holy, holy matrimony.
We wish them lots of happiness in their future life together.
We wish them lots of happiness in the future life together.
Pete, Rachel, Pete, Rachel Pimperton are now joined together in holy matrimony. Holy, holy, holy matrimony. Holy, holy, holy matrimony. We wish them lots of happiness in their future life together. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding. Raise your glasses and join the proudest man in the room in a toast to the bride and groom. Thank you very much.